Be Wealthy and Smart, episode 250.
Step into a world of wealth and financial freedom without budgets, boredom, or bosses on Be Wealthy and Smart. And now, here's your host, Linda P. Jones.
Welcome to Be Wealthy and Smart. I'm Linda P. Jones, America's Wealth Mentor, empowering women and men worldwide to financial freedom. On today's show, we're going to talk about the best equity sector ETFs of 2017, according to Investors Business Daily. But before we get started, I want to let you know about another awesome podcast called Profit Boss Radio. Profit Boss Radio is hosted by MBA and certified financial planner Hilary Hendershott, who highlights inspiring women who have created success in their financial and professional lives. Each week, you can tune in and hear how women have paved the road to sustained success with both beliefs and actions. Check it out at profitbossradio.com. Well, on today's show, you're going to learn which equity sector ETFs are performing the best and maybe an idea of how to use them to spice up your portfolio. But first, I'm so excited to mention this is our 250th show of Be Wealthy and Smart. That is so cool to me. And when I started 3 years ago, I had no idea we would have the wide audience that we have of listenership. So thank you to our loyal listeners. Thank you to all wealth seekers out there. And thank you to any new listeners who are just joining Be Wealthy and Smart and listening to this podcast, maybe even for the very first time. So regularly, I like to talk about what's working in the markets. This isn't a recommendation of anything that you should necessarily buy, but I do think it's important for you to understand trends and what's working right now and what isn't working, because you don't always hear that in the financial media. They tend to focus on certain things they want to talk about and not necessarily where the performance is happening. And I think as astute investors, we ought to understand what trends are happening, where the money's flowing, and that's important for you to know. So if you haven't listened to podcast number 248, I suggest you do that, because in that podcast, I reviewed asset allocation, and I talked about how some asset allocation models use about 20% of their asset allocation pie to invest in individual sector funds or sector ETFs. So you might want to comb through the best performing equity sector ETFs and see if any of these appeal to you. So I'm going to go through the top 14 performing equity sector ETFs according to Investors Business Daily. And then after I finish that, I'm also going to share the strongest performers of the last 2 years. So basically, you're going to get all of 2016 plus this first quarter of 2017. So you're actually not getting 2 years. I guess you're getting a year and a quarter. But I want to give you that longer term outlook, even though it's still very short term. But I want to give you a longer term outlook than just 1 quarter, because I think that can be very deceiving. So I want to give you 5 quarters of performance to show you which are the top 7 or 8 that have really done well for maybe those 5 consecutive quarters, if not longer. And as usual, I will post the full article on my website under podcast number 250. So you can go to lindapjones.com and then see the podcast section at the top of the website and then go to number 250. All right, so let's jump in. What are the best sector equity ETFs ranked by year-to-date returns as of April 4th? And again, these are always screened by volume by Investors Business Daily. So they're not going to show you the ones that don't get many dollars flowing into them. They're only going to give you the bigger ones. Well, number 1 year-to-date is the Van Eck Vectors Coal Fund, which is symbol KOL, and it's up year-to-date 18.6%. Number 2 is the Global X Uranium ETF, symbol URA, up 17.9% year-to-date. Then the VanEck Vectors Junior Gold Miners, GDXJ, up 17.4% year to date. Then iShares U.S. Home Construction, ITB, up 15.5% year to date. And the fifth best performing equity sector ETF is the Global X Lithium and Battery Tech, LIT, up 15.5% year to date. All right, those are our top 5. Number 6, Spider S&P Biotech, XBI, up 15.5%. Then the Global X Robotics and Artificial Intelligence, BOTZ, up 14.9% year to date. Global X Social Media, SOCL, up 14.8% year to date. Global X Silver Miners, SIL, up 14.7% year to date. PowerShares Dynamic Semiconductors, PSI, up 14.5% year to date. Then the First Trust NYSE Arca Biotech symbol FBT, up 14.5% year to date. The iShares MSCI Global Silver Miners, SLVP, up 14.3% year to date. And finally, the First Trust NASDAQ 100 Tech Sector QTEC, up 13.8% year to date. Now, I just want to comment on a few things. You can see some themes of similar funds that are in the top 14. There were silver miners and gold miners. There was some biotech. There was some other technology, very interesting trends. And also, it was interesting to see that things like coal, which is not really that surprising, but is interesting. But coal as an energy and uranium as an energy being the top 2 best performers, very, very significant under President Trump's plan of additional energy. And also what was interesting to me was the Global X Social Media ETF, which frankly, I didn't even know existed. So that's very interesting to see that there is a global social media ETF. So that's pretty impressive. So sometimes just by following what the performers are, you can find out that there's new ETFs that you didn't even know existed, like I just did. So that's fascinating. Now, to move on to what are the best performers, not just year to date in 2017, because that's only giving us a very short window, but this article actually extends back to 2016. So I'm going to look at the combination of 2016 plus the first quarter of 2017 to give you a 5-quarter top performer picture. So what's really interesting is that VanEck Vectors Coal has actually not just been performing great year to date, but it performed the best in 2016 as well. Of all of these mentioned here, it was up 98.2% in 2016. So it had that really strong performance. I think, after the election, most of that came into play. And so it's been super strong. The number 2 best performer was up 90.6% in 2016, and that was the iShares MSCI Global Silver Miners, SLVP. That was up 90.6% in 2016, and it's up 14.3% year to date. So also a very strong performer. Then we also have the Global X Silver Miners, up 79.4% in 2016 and up 14.7% year to date, symbol SIL. And the VanEck Vectors Junior Gold Miners, GDXJ, up 72.9% in 2016 and up 17.4% year to date. So again, super strong performance, not only for the first quarter, but also from the prior year. So really interesting to see and to talk about, and maybe it's something that you want to pepper into your portfolio in a very small way. I wouldn't get overly enthusiastic about sector funds. They're very volatile. They fluctuate a lot in value, and they also a trend can end as quickly as it starts. So you have to be very, very cautious when you're investing in these. And of course, you always want to talk with your financial advisor before making any investment decisions, because I'm not recommending that you buy these or you don't. This is simply for your knowledge and for you to be aware of what's moving right now, what's performing well, why is it performing well, and what might be some trends that we see going forward that might be continuing, and keeping an eye on that. If you haven't yet subscribed to the show, please hit the subscribe button so you'll get all of my podcasts as soon as they're published. And leave me a review on iTunes or Stitcher Radio. I love to hear from you, and really it's so important to me to have your rating and review, and it helps the show be found by other new listeners. If you haven't yet gotten your 11 quick financial tips to boost your wealth, go on over to lindapjones.com and get your free report. It will help you get your net worth moving in the right direction and building wealth. That's all for today. Until next time, live the good life and be wealthy and smart.
Thank you for listening to Be Wealthy and Smart with Linda P. Jones. Share the wealth and tell your family and friends about the show. Check out our website, blog, and social media for more riches at www.bewealthyandsmart.com.